Hello, everyone. Welcome to this conversation that we are going to have. And we have with us Sunil Sathyendra, Nima coach, who is going to share about his experiences in life, in his journey in life, how he has reached so far. Right now, he is an ICF certified coach, a mentor coach, a mentor. Let's hear from him how he has gone through his journey in life. So, Sunil, over to you.
Oh,
How has
thank
life
you.
been for you?
The life has been, it's a very tough question to answer because the question is short, but the answer is long. Life has been fun in various aspects. Life has been challenging, but mostly I have journeyed through life, sometimes willingly, unwillingly, but looking forward to what's happening in life. That's always been how life has been. So I've always been looking forward, being in the present, absorbing, understanding, and then just enjoying my way through life. And it's like I'm a kid who's looking at life for the first time, almost every time when I encounter life as is. So every day is a new day, and every day is a new beginning. So that's how life is going. So in an retrospective space, that's how life is.
Okay. So, you are not just a regular person, you are a coach, you are a poet, you are a writer. Tell me more about you.
Oh, you want the formal version or the informal version?
Whichever one you wish to share.
So Govind is being the coach today. Um, yeah, I think informal version wise, I am somebody who enjoys life as is. So in a way, poetry has been a blessing. I think I would always still, if I had to leave all the titles that I have, other people have given, the roles and responsibilities that I take over, I'd still want to be a poet any day and every day of the week because it's the greatest blessing there is for me at least in life. So poetry has been the greatest blessing I have and continue to have. So I'd always be the poet.
Okay. So, what inspired you to be that poet?
There's no inspiration as such going through it. Just like my first poem, I remember writing it in the last benches of my engineering classroom. Very surely remember it was physics class, and me and my friend Rajesh were, sitting in the last benches. And I wrote something in Kannada, and uh, I was trying to figure out one word in that particular this thing, which was basically called a mirage or like something around that. It was the whole intention of the poem. And I remember going back home and just asking my mom, saying, "What do you mean by this in Kannada?" And that was that. I think that was the trigger of quite a long relationship with poetry and just happened. I don't think I had trained to be a poet at all. So I was interested in reading for sure until that I'd done quite a lot of novel shopping, going through a lot of fiction, Enid Blyton, then Sidney Sheldon, then Frederick Forsyth, Arkin, quite a lot of what is this romance thrillers and mostly thrillers that were part of my agenda until then. And then basically somehow writing stuck and I stuck with it. And that's how it became a part of who I am. It became an identity that I cannot entangle myself out of, and I don't want to entangle myself out of.
So, from my knowledge, you have written more than 5,000 poems and a few books. Recently, you have shared with us or in the group about a new book that you have written. So, if I were to ask you to recite something impromptu,
Impromptu. Okay, impromptu is always never impromptu. So there's one poem it's been on my head for a day or two. It's about these thin slices of soap that accumulate on top of each other. So the the last one is almost done by then. There's a newer one that comes along. So at the bottom there is about 6 or 7 layers of soaps that are there. So I saw it and I thought of it as it was a graveyard of lost soap or broken soaps that finally somehow string together and basically survive at the bottom, and nobody notices it until one day the older soap is gone, and then you have to scrape through and use it. So that's an idea that's been sitting in my head. Um, so sometimes I visit the graveyard of broken soaps only to find myself covering myself with layers and layers of soaps, each its own time, its own identity, each like kings before them, sitting on the throne in a quiet, soft corner until another soap replaces them, something stronger, bigger, and definitely more latherer. And that too will meet its own fate, gathering at the confluence of these broken soaps, one layer after another. Here, all these soaps are helping me shed layers of dust and layers of grime. And this is an aspect of letting go. But here are these layers and layers getting thicker and thinner by the day. Not to be seen, not to be heard, until one day the king is gone, and all that is left are remnants of broken soaps, layer upon layer. When everything is gone, that one who's purchased me and left me to be there shall forever find some use for my existence. And all the layers, each of them individuals, now combined, packed like sedimentary rocks, will find some use again. So maybe it is my wisdom that they're seeking. Maybe I am like a library of broken soaps and unwanted grime. They let be, let simmer. And the soap pickle, now that layers and layers of different soaps form one identity, is all that is left for the user to use. I shall still find some use again. Maybe not just now, when another soap takes over my throne. But he too or she too will find its way to the graveyard of broken soaps. And here we shall rejoice once there are no soaps at all. So that's an impromptu poem. I don't know if that made sense.
That was really nice. Wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
How do you see things in this perspective? Having this creative idea to bring even that, that title of Graveyard of Soap, something that we don't even imagine going in that space.
Maybe there are small corrections. So you said 5,000, I think it is 7,000 plus.
Okay.
Right. So right now, why I made the correction is the numbers have gotten to a point where after 7,000, I've not stopped and I haven't started counting. And quite a lot of poems have been lost to, you know, bad internet, or the drive crashing, or my backup crashing, or sometimes even my backup of backup crashing. So quite a lot of stuff has happened. So some of these poems had gone, and the idea is that sometimes after so many years of writing, almost 15 years of writing, you tell me a word and within seconds I'm able to make an idea of what needs to be presented, how it needs to be presented. As soon as I write the first word, the rest will simply flow. So the accessing of the flow state is something that really happens just like this. It is instant almost. So I remember one of these things. The Times of India does something called as Happy Streets, and one of my friend Neena Gayatri, she always enables me to get a seat or there. So Happy Streets is one of the busiest streets, are closed off, and that day you can go and do storytelling, poetry, and stuff like that. So there I had sat down for about an hour and a half, and I had written in hour and a half 51 poems. And all they had to do was give me 3 words, and I wrote something. So that's how it is a gift. And I don't think I practice sharing perspectives, and it's become so much over a time of practice that now becomes very easy. I don't have to think at all. So there's thinking is never involved in this. It is just acting upon it, getting into the flow state, and uh, personally, I don't think I write it. Right? I don't write it. It gets written, and I'm just the medium. The universe wills, and it happens. So, and that's why I don't have a pair. I don't write in my name. I write in my pen name. So I don't. It's not Sunil that is writing. It's Pungidasa that's writing. So that's how it is. That's the
Pungidasa.
answer. Short, long answer for a short question.
Okay. So, Pungidasa, the pen name, if you were to elaborate on that name, where did that name come from?
The name actually is a self-kept pen name. So it came from so there's a very deeper story to it, but the simplest story, there are two versions of it. One, Pungi is a Pengchamas instrument. Colloquial Kannada, it is somebody who is making a prank, Pungi Udbada, Pungi Adsono. So all that is a pranksterish attitude kind of a thing. And so I used to do a lot of pranks in my pre-university and my engineering first year. And different SIM cards, they used to be like validity of 3 months. There's a lot of friends who used to get multiple SIM cards. I used to call people in different voices and prank them. So that's how the prankster aspect came. That's how Pungi came into place. And somehow the other aspect is it stuck. So Pungidasa basically stuck. So that's the first version answer to it. The second deeper version answer to it is that Pungi is actually, like I said, the snake charmer's instrument, and the snake does not have ears, right? So whatever sound comes out of it is irrelevant to the snake. So the basically it is catching vibrations on the ground and catching movement of whatever that is happening. So mostly it is a movement that actually charms the snake or uh, reduces the anxiety of the snake, wherein basically it feels safe. And so there's always two meanings to whatever I write. So one that is literal, one that is deeper. The Dasa comes from the Dasa Sahitya movement, which you see, and Kanaka Dasa and Purandara Dasa, and are some of the famous Dasas that I have been exposed to. And there was a poem in school, Standard 7, where Kanaka Dasa, I am thinking, yeah, me, there's one poem called Ni Maye Odago Ninodu Maye. So, are you the illusion? Are you in the illusion itself? And it goes on to ask, saying, "Sihiyu sakkare olago, sakkare sihiyu olago." So, is it this is the sweet in the sugar, or is the sugary aspect in the this thing? And so, there are multiple elements. And as a young kid, I think I still, whenever I listen to it, I still have goosebumps when I listen to it. The depth of poetry that was randomly put as a poem to a seventh standard kid or a sixth standard kid, somehow after that it's always stayed on with me. So Dasa comes from that space, and Dasa is also somebody who is in a deep state of surrender. It's colloquially a slave. Version one is a slave, but you will look at it, Ram Das or Hanumanta is a Dasa for Rama. So it is a state of complete surrender. So I am in a state of complete surrender to whatever happens with Pungi and whatever happens with poetry, whatever happens from the universe, and whatever word gets given to me, and whatever comes out is just the blessing from higher forces. So I am in a state of complete surrender, and that's the deeper, longer philosophical version of what Pungidasa is. So that's the deal with Pungidasa.
Okay. So when I was writing that poetry book that you shared, one thing that I noticed is how you do some social works with the money that you gain from those books. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So the idea very, very simply starts off. So I start writing in 2011-ish, right? So 2018 is when I take a career break. By then 2017 and a half, I've published my first book. Then so interested and so inspired that I, almost exit the IT forever. And then I take a career break. It's a sabbatical. I write two short stories, and I come back to office. Then COVID happened. During COVID, there's a extreme need for people to raise funds. So people are raising funds right, left, center. So I also do the same. So right from 2014 onwards, as soon as I started my career at Bosch. So we had also already started a volunteering wing. So there's COVID and there's volunteering wing, and we are struggling to raise funds for charities and causes that matter. And there's an idea saying, I have a skill. What if my skill then makes a difference, right? We're all going through the ikigai phase, saying I need to have a skill, that skill needs to be useful, and that needs to be paid, and that needs to solve a problem. And somehow this sort of thing stuck, saying, why can't I write and let me experiment it? So the first experiment was 3 months, 50 rupees is where he started. Then it became 100, then it became 500, then it became 1,000, now 2,500 to 5,000 for 2 years. So the idea was use a skill that you're good at, and people want to sort of buy it for whatever reasons that they like to buy it. One to support a cause, one to support a poet, one to support writing, and maybe all three and any of those three, and maybe even something that I don't even know of, right? So my skills put to some use was the simplest of definitions around it. So that's how it started, and it's grown to be over the last 3 years more than I think lakh and a half, or maybe even 1.8 lakhs have been raised through writing itself. And every year, somewhere around 45 to 50,000 gets raised. We then work with school students who share their marks card, what they're reading, what they want to do in life, and usually comes through references from different organizations that we have worked with previously. And we enable scholarships for rural kids. So the funding comes from this, and uh, for me, that's the greatest satisfaction there is, that here I am doing something. Previously, we were always raising funds, asking somebody to give it, and then I used to collect it, and then I used to pass it along to this. And my contribution towards this was zero, or I was just the collector. So I just kept saying I'm the collector, not basically making any big difference at all. Others had a problem with that statement, saying, you are the collector, you still make difference. But somehow internally, I never felt that I am adding something to this. And so therefore, the skill of writing became the aspect of adding on to this. And it's been almost the writing directly with scholarship funding is about 1.8 lakhs, and maybe another overall on 3.5 lakhs raised in the last 5 years just by writing alone, and from other additional sources. So overall, around 120 kids, I think, have been supported from different people contributing in different possibilities. So yeah, so that's how it started. That's how it's going, and hopefully, when the Lima Coach and other startups that I'm building get to a rhythm, I don't need to sort of keep a profit margin or prefer keep a margin for this anymore. And whatever that comes along goes. So the first 4 years, 3.5 years, we were not keeping any margin. Whatever came went up, and we were charging very low. We were charging 500 or 1,000 a year. And now we started to charge around 2,500 per year, and I keep 50% of it until my startup sort of stabilizes, and after that, it's full money back into the equation. And yeah, so that's how we've been raising funds. That's how we make a difference. And the biggest deal is if you're here and you're not making a difference, then what use is it? So it comes from that idea.
That concept within you originating from?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I think. Hmm. So the backstory is like this. So uh, early 2004, on a Sunday in December, the first Sunday in December, my dad complains of stomach ache, and he pukes twice. The next thing I know, he's no longer with us. Right. So that's what happens. Then the rest of the journey is covered through entirely through scholarships in terms of my educational aspects. And I remember one person that I met. We'd gone to his house, and then he asked for all my marks cards in pre-university. And pre-university, I had a CET rank of around 670 for the entire Karnataka CET, right? So that was decent enough and really good at that particular place. He asked me, what do you want to do? And that time I wanted to become an embedded software engineer and blah, blah, blah stuff. All he did was sign, I think, if I remember right, 40,000 check. And he said, take it. He hadn't met me before. He hadn't met my mom before. Came through a reference, and that was that. Uh, and he gave me that check, and I left that particular conversation stunned, saying, and then he said one thing, saying, when you get to a point where you can afford this, all you have to do is pass it along. And I think I've just been passing it along. So I think it shook me to the core, saying somebody who I never know could give me a fund like this. And so, to a large extent, the concept is that the people who we have supported over the last 4 years, they haven't met any of us who've been contributing. So that's where it originates. Um, yeah, I think that's a short answer version to it. The longer version possibility is that that thing, that very aspect that I shared with you in terms of the story and the compounding effect of it while volunteering over a period of the last 10 years, I think 2014, 2015-ish. Yeah, I think 2015 is when we started volunteering. So volunteering over the last 10 years, I've understood the difference that a single 1,000 rupees makes. So one of the stories is that two young girls that we supported, so they had come to a law college here, and uh, their fee per year, per semester, was 1,500. And they'd gone back home, and the college called one of the counselors. They'd gone through an NGO, and they called the NGO saying, why are these two girls not coming? And they called them up, and then they said, no, we don't have fees. My dad does not have fees. So at home, they told that they were coming for holidays. They could not ask their parents. They could not pay the fees here, and they decided that that's the end of study, and they've gone back home. And as soon as the NGO learnt about this, they called me and said, Sunil, two kids. I said, two kids, very difficult right now, because we didn't have proper corpus and stuff like that. I said, we've already given it. And then she said, she told the backstory and this, how much would we have to look at it? And then she said 3,000 and said, "Oh, then don't worry, we'll support for the two kids." So that 1,500 is the difference between whether I study or not study. 1,500 is, in a Bangalore city, if you go out for, 30-kilometer drive, would have paid Ola, Uber, or whatever the cabs, approximately the same amount of money. And we do that almost on a daily basis, consciously and unconsciously, moving between places to places. And that 1,500 is a matter between education and no education for kids. So I said, because I've seen stories like this, it's what inspires me to keep going, keep doing, bringing people along on the same journey. So yeah, I think that's a longer version answer to it.
Really.
Yeah, and I think it is powerful because it comes from that place of you know being in a space of making some change. I think it is, I don't know if it is an aspect of power, but possibly an aspect of being a catalyst in the way world moves. And yeah, like pretty strongly, I'm still a medium to enable change in some or the other way. And so that's how the medium aspect comes from poetry, comes from volunteering, and possibly also the medium of coaching, because coaching, as you know, has nothing to do with, me asking the right questions or the wrong questions, the powerful questions, the expected questions, the unexpected questions. It's just about, being a medium for the individual there. And just holding time, space, and energy for the client. So
So when you were a small child, a kid, do you think this is where you would be?
think small kid, my first interest was to be a cleaner in the, what is that, vehicles or canters, right? So you can, I wanted to be a cleaner in the canter. That's it, period, I think. And all these sand lorries. I wanted to go and sit in the sand lorries and just be there. I don't think I had any indication of getting into coaching, engineering. I just wanted to be fed the great food by mom and just sit and do eating all day. So first was driver, then chef, or somebody who tastes different things. Then like all Indians, cricket. Cricket was a madness. Um, I was deeply interested in history, so Egyptologist or whatever around that. Yeah, I think then slowly it moved out. I knew like cricket was a difficult thing, and then somehow engineering happened. So I don't think writing was anywhere. Writing is not in our DNA in 3 or 4 generations, both sides. So it just happened, and I think yeah, it's all a blessing. Sometimes initially it may not have always been a blessing, but I think right now when I look at it, it's a blessing at all places. So that's how I want it to be. I mostly canters. I used to count the number of canters that I'm looking at. How many my mama used to take me to a place where all the offloading and unloading of these sand tankers and sand stuff used to happen. And I was a very happy-go-lucky kid at that point. Cricket, WWF, I think to a large extent, WWF played its part, but mostly this was childhood.
So, what would that small kid say seeing you now as a coach, as a poet, as an author?
If I had to really go back to that, it's like, okay, so what? So that's it. I don't think the kid had anything, like, great expectations from life, or that needs to be done, this needs to be done. The kid only would possibly ask, "What did you eat today?" His mom's cooking the same then and same now. I think that's been the same constant space. So minimal expectations from whatever was happening, and yeah, I think I was not a troubling kid for both my parents and both side grandparents. I was always the good kid kind of a thing, and yeah, I think I was in my own space, in my own bubble. I don't think I'd have anything to ask, anything to share. I'm like, oh, okay, you're a coach, all the best. That's it.
Surprises.
So why do you say that?
No, that's a question that I was asking. The kid won't be surprised even like to see that, okay, he's a coach, he's a poet writing around 7,000 plus poems, creating a change in the society, helping a lot of kids around uh, like more than 100, 200 plus kids,
120.
120 kids. The kid won't be surprised at that time seeing all these wonderful
No,
things.
no surprise, no no awe, no overreactions, nothing like that. I'm like, okay, okay, uncle, okay, and okay, bhaiya, whatever they call it. Okay, and now, okay, bhaiya, okay, okay, uncle. I don't think even I would look at it and say, "Oh wow," kind of a thing. And maybe the adult version would be like, "Oh, that's a transition, that's a transformation, that's crazy." The kid version would not be bothered. And that somehow also allowed me to be who I am, saying I can meet, Trump, Modi, whoever, etc., and genuinely be completely respectful. But I'd say that's who they are. I love their energy. Uh, but everybody is to their own journey. So I respect you the same as much I respect anybody else. Uh, so for me, all individuals are the same. There's no wow, like I drop in at you and say, you are the boss, you are God, kind of a thing. That never been my case. So I think that's how the child in me continues. I respect everybody. I acknowledge their work that they're doing. But it's not that you are greater than anybody else, and nobody is lesser, nobody is greater. Everybody has their own journey, and for them, the journey is what is important. And for me, my journey is important. And I am just going through my journey, and whoever comes in, whoever leaves it, thank you and welcome, and hope you enjoyed your stay, kind of a thing.
So what do you see as a vision for you as a poet and author?
Hmm. Oh, make everybody read. Everybody read. Because right now, what I'm saying is, writing is perennially stuck with love stories, either the romantic ones or the sad ones. Like you cannot love possibly a book. You cannot love possibly an old jeans pant. You cannot possibly love a book. You cannot love someone else's grandmother, for example. So love is only, set there. Love poems are the only ones. Love or breakup, there's only two stuff. And the other thing is everybody thinks that poems will rhyme. Oh, I think I've had that. And poems are having extremely crazy levels of vocabulary. So I want to break that and say poems need not rhyme, need not have extremely crazy words, need not be inaccessible for people based on assumptions they have on their own, but slowly introduce them to writing and reading poems so that they start enjoying poetry and through poetry start enjoying life. Because at the end of the day, that's the greatest gift poetry gives you to observe, to pause, to listen, to stay silent, to let the world speak to you. So poetry is all that. So my vision as an author is that more and more people have access to writing, reading, and they do not see it as an elitist aspect. They see it as simple as eating curd rice. Yes, if on a typical South Indian, this thing, curd rice, your bare minimum stuff, right? So it should be that simple, that accessible, and that easy for people to read, not read, but basically to have access to it first without too much of problems. So that's my vision as an individual. So that's what helps me keep writing, keep moving. So last three books have been free to read. You like it to pay for it. So it started with physical printed books, then it moved to subscription stuff. Then it was like I'm giving it to you for free. If you like it, you pay for it. I don't write to get paid. It's a gift. What do you like? It's a gift. Why are you hoarding it, saying, "Oh, pay me something for that gift"? So it should not be behind the paywall. So it should open. It is open to this thing. And if you feel like paying it, you pay it. If you don't like paying it, you don't. Absolutely no problem. So that's how it has evolved into, and I hope that more and more people join in this space of making poetry accessible to people who have no idea what poetry is. Right now, poetry is enjoyed by people who love poetry, who love reading, who love some bit of literature, or on that part. But uh, can we take poetry to those people who never really listened to it? That is what I want to do. That's the grand vision.
So, as a poet who has written around 7,000 plus poems, what do you see is the essence of a good poem?
You are on a roll, Govind. You're asking some very, very good questions. A poem that is good has to make you pause, think, look at life beautifully. So you should, at the end of the poem, look at life and say life is beautiful. If the poem does that, you started. That's a good poem.
So, I think there is a lot of people who are interested in entering the world of poem and feel like, okay, they are lacking that skill. What is one advice you have for them so that they enter into this world and explore it a lot?
Humans are default in a way that built in a way that they are storytellers. You are a storyteller, I am a storyteller, somebody on the street is a storyteller. Our assumption is storytelling needs to have this specific format. Yeah, it has to rhyme, it has to start, it has to have a middle, it has to have an end, it has to be the most beautiful ending. The boy finally meets the girl and all is well, and all that kind of a thing is programming. So all of us by default are storytellers. Right? What over the years, over from childhood to now, what has happened with everybody else is we've forgotten that we're storytellers. So my advice is start writing. If you don't know how to start, that's where I come in, or restart. That's where I come in. And I teach people how to write. We have a simple 4-5 method or 5 trigger possibility. And based on that, they can start building their stories, their poems, their characters, their storyline. And it does not have to be complicated. So the first thing that I see people do it is, you don't write a novel on day zero. You take your time, you make it work, and see it happening on your end. That's it. Simple. So poetry, stories, or wherever, any expression for that matter, we are all expressive species. We can just choose to express. If that is something that you've forgotten, I will come and help you relearn, re-remember, and that's how it is. We are all born storytellers. Some of us know it, some of us don't know it. That's it. Don't know it yet. So
Oh,
all of them, that's how it is. So, mother who's never told story, never written stories, put her in front of her own kid. Yeah. By the end of 3 years, she would have told 500 stories. So that's how it is. You're always storytellers. You may not be publishable storytellers that will sell books, but you're always storytellers. You don't need to have a minimum threshold saying, oh, the story that I need to write is either going to be, a movie, or it's going to be taken over by a serial, or it's going to be published, it's going to be a bestseller. You write it because you enjoy writing. And the story needs to be told. And even in podcasting, right? So it's a story that needs to be told. And that's why we do podcasts. We both of us are not famous in any ways. I'm assuming you are not famous. But we are talking about something, and that's the essence of what we are saying is important. And so the story writer and who's helped you get the story sometimes is irrelevant. What the story leaves you with is the relevance one, because Shakespeare is no longer with us, Kalidasa is no longer with us, Tagore is no longer with us, Kuempu is no longer with us, but they continue to stay with us through their books. The book is a printed format. They continue to stay in us as stories because we recall stories. So the story is sometimes more important than the story writer. So if you're not writing it, then the world is missing out on a story.
most people, when they feel like they have to enter into the field of writing, the first thing that might pop up into their head would be, okay, I want to have like a published book or maybe a best-selling book. What would you share as the realistic side to this aspect?
The first thing I learned, right, so as soon as I published my first book, for you it's your first book. For you it's your baby. Just extend that bubble some more times. For people who are on the world, this is maybe 10,000th book that is releasing on the same day. So give them a cause to care about your book. Why should they read your book? And I still remember Shashank is a good friend of mine. So Shanky basically said, Pungi, why should I buy your book? And I was taken aback by that question, saying, hey, I have put 8 years of effort into this, and I want you to buy it. He said, I'll buy it because you're my friend, but not for anything else. But for others, you need to give them a cause to buy your book. So you will have to figure out what resonates with the other side. Now, when I write my stories, the parents find more resonance to the story than the kids that read it. So the stories are nostalgic, Arkanarayanish type stories. So they'll resonate more than what resonates to the kids. So I usually sell the books to the parents now, not to the kids. So that's been the learning. Know my audience, know why they care, give them a reason to care, and then everything else changes. So that's, I think, the shortest answer I can give to that. But otherwise, for you, it's your greatest book. It's your first book, second book, whatever. It's like having a baby, right? So you go to the hospital, 9 months of pregnancy has been the whole entire journey, and then the mother delivers this thing. But if you look at in the same hospital, there are possibly 30 other beds, and 30 other kids are born on the same day. And across India, you can imagine the number of kids that are born across India. So all that is for you, your kid is the center of your universe. But for somebody who's 100 miles away, they don't even know your kid exists. So you'll have to give them a space to say, okay, yeah, I think this kid born by XYZ is worth this thing because the father is this, the mother is this, or XYZ is this. Or the book is so amazing, the stories are so amazing that I need to have a copy. That's how it is, and the rest is also in terms of the figuring out the business, the niche, the ROI, the person who's going to take it, digital marketing, Oh, that's a entirely new ball game in itself. And don't write to become bestsellers. Write because the story needs to be told. And do it in such a way that it is good. And then it can become a bestseller. I know of so many so-called bestsellers with grammatical mistakes on the backward side of the page. And they spent 3, 4, 5 lakhs to get a YouTube video done, to get paid subscribers, to get paid reviews, to get all this stuff. Making a bookseller is, making the formatting of making a book bestseller is easy. I'll give you the format. But it will go and die in somebody else, like the graveyard of unread books. So I have around 20 books at home, gifted by so many other people which I've read for the first time, and then after that, that's it. It's been kept there, and because it is signed and kept there, I may not share it with anybody else. My books also could be signed by me and then given to somebody else, and then they're like, until this fellow is alive, or until I am alive, this will stay in my book, Almira. And after that, on case, thanks. I'll put it somewhere else. So, bestseller may not be your greatest achievement. So, have you stayed in somebody else's mind, even though you're not a bestseller? That's it. One more person still remembers you and your poem and your story. I think that's a bestseller material.
Oh, even when I was searching about this books, poetries, and everything, I think the ads started to pop up to me sharing about become making them a bestseller book, and also some ads were about the awards. You want an award for the book, just apply for it, and we will make you a bestseller. We make your book a bestseller one in like 1 month. We will make you write a book in like 3 to 5 days. What is your take on all this?
You can write a book in 3 days. Oh, absolutely, all the best. I'll give you enough prompts. You can write about it. Whether it is, whether the quality is good, nobody will check, because the publishing has become an industry like anything else. Like our coaching industry, everybody can be a coach, so everybody can be a book writer. Everybody is a book writer. Everybody is a storyteller, right? So the question is, right now, should everybody write? Oh yes, absolutely, everybody should write. But should I write for a bestseller? Write for it. Absolutely. But making your writer in 3 days, making your bestseller in 3 days. So what is the output of that? It is like Osmandias in that desert saying, here lies Osmandias, and all that you see here is all that there is. And it is a dead desert. Nobody is nothing for miles and miles around. So, and broken statue says, here lies Osmandias, and all direction that you see is what Osmandias' land. And it's the middle of the desert and nothing there for miles and miles before. So what happens after you become a bestseller? Do people remember your book? Do people come to you and say, you know what, I want to read your book once again? Now, that's the kind of stories you want to write. But otherwise, becoming a bestseller, write 21 days, 21 poems, we'll publish it. Publishing is become they'll take your money, print it, take more money for digital marketing, ask you for money to get you an award. And I had been asked by so many people saying, you pay 8,000 rupees, we'll get you an award. And then there was one lady who said, I'll write you a review. I'm one of the finest reviewers in all of Amazon. Look at my Amazon rating. Uh, I will write this for 10,000 rupees. I said, oh, thank you. In 10,000 rupees, I will publish 4 books. 4 more. I have enough content to publish 4 more books. There's so many people who call to, first thing I ask as soon as somebody calls me and says, Sunil, I want your advice in making my book reach more people. My first question is, how much did you pay the publishers? They say, oh, 1.5 lakh. I'm like, oh, great. Some of them say 5, 6. Become an industry. It's as good as your tuition mafia. It's, as good as your land mafia, as good as your. So publishing has become saying you're taken for a ride. A lot of people who said, oh, this is how much I paid, and then they ask for reviews, then they ask for covering page. Everything right now, in a way, is even prior to ChatGPT and all those things. You can sit and make it your own book. If you are not investing in your own book, what is the use of writing the book in the first place? Hand to heart, I haven't gone back and read the stories in my own book. Hand to heart. But I know each of those stories because I've sat down and written it. If I just read the first word of the story, I'll know okay what exactly happened. But I haven't gone back and reread my book because my I don't reread any of the books. It's not that I have anything against the book or anything against the author. I don't reread the book. That's who I am. There are some people who read tons of books 10 times, 15 times. So that's how it is. So why are you publishing it in the first place? And it's like I can make your PhD in 2 days. Like, do you really want to get PhD? So it's about life experience. It's about this, and they'll publish any poem. So even they'll clean the grammar, but you would have written something that is so for a purist heart it is shit. So what you would have done is put four sentences one on top of the other and said, "Oh, this is a poem." And for somebody publishing it, they don't care because you are the one who's going to pay for it to get printed. You are the one who's paying for it to get edited, and you are the one who's going to ask your friends to buy it. So the publisher anyways makes money out of it. And this is what is happening with because it's become a business, right? So they'll want leads every day. So they'll give you challenges. They'll write you this thing. In 3 days, will decent enough ideas come to you? Yes. But if you ask me how much time I have taken to write one book, 3 months minimum. And these are short stories, 2.5 pages max. 10, 15 stories is what I only wrote. It took me minimum maturity to that, and I have been writing for 15 years. So for me, it takes maybe faster. But somebody coming in and sitting and writing straight away, I have my own doubts. But I think it is a well camouflaged, I can't say scam, but I want to say it. But it is a well camouflaged marketing idea. So they are just trying to make money out of you, not make any author of it. So that's how it is.
For someone who is entering the world of poem, how much hours or maybe how many poems should they write so that they started to feel like, okay, the ideas are starting to pour into their head, like non-stop, without having this creative block?
Well, I'll answer the creative block first. So my answer to creative block was right about the creative block. So end of story. So I never had to deal with creative blocks at all because I used to write about the creative block and that was it. The block was gone. Um, the other aspect of how many hours go in, there are some people who only write one poem in life and that's it. There are some who write only 10. There are some like me, mad fellows who write more than 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, whatever. So if I have to really give you a philosophical answer, there's no time that is like it comes to you. You don't create a poem. The poem gets created. You're always going to be a medium for poetry. So it will not be something you have manufactured. And very easy to say you have manufactured it. I have some poems that I've written that I'll be like, nahi chalega. It's not hit me that hard. So it won't be there. But I have to, if you can say the skill set wise for you to get to a point where you're like, I think my skill is good, give yourself 100 hours time to say 100 hours of writing, proper hardcore writing to say you mastered the art of actually playing with words, wordplay, humor, horror, nuances, depth, structure, unstructured, making certain people laugh, certain people not laugh, hiding meanings in plain sight, working metaphorically, talking about intimacy, not talking about intimacy, talking about intimacy in a way that it is not difficult for people to exist. Going deep into that, there is the genres are right, left, center. There's every kind of genre out there. There's a genre that's a 2 minute read genre, there's a 5 minute read genre, there's a 100 hour genre. Uh, so I have read books this thick, right? Ken Follett, if you see End of the World or World Without Order or something like that. So it's this thick a book, and I've read it in say a 3 day, 4 day sitting. And there are people who can't read more than 10 words. So poetry writing, whatever can exist in how many number of pages does not matter. But practice the depth of it to say, oh yeah, I'm now a skilled poet. There's some who come just write one poem in their entire life and that's it. They're born only to write that poem. After that, they may never write. But it still has the same value as any of my poems that I've written, or anybody else who's written any poem. So all poems are created equal. It's just that some resonate higher to a certain poem, some resonate certain to another poem. That's it. But at all places, all poems are created equal. The value that somebody else allots to it is different. So some may hate my poem, some may love my poem. And sometimes they say, "Oh, Sunil, fantastic poem. This is what I read into it." Whereas I would have written it come in a extremely different manner altogether. So there's so many things to that. I'd say the question itself is flawed. So in a way that you can be born to just write one poem. If you want to be a skilled poet, give yourself 100 hours. Give yourself 100 hours, dance with different formats, and then you can say, I'm a skilled poet. So make people laugh, make people cry. If you get two of these extreme spaces correct, then you're a good guy. Then you've mastered the art.
So, Sunil, I think you've been writing for more than 10 plus years, 7,000 plus poems. If you look in the circle of contacts that you're having, how many might have been inspired and been in the field of writing, being a poet after seeing your work, after hearing about you being a poet?
Some of them have been inspired. I can't remember in terms of numbers. One of my friend Harshita is there, so she's a senior. So she sometimes says, I wrote some of these things based on what you wrote. Mm. I think I also rekindled some of your writing interests, right? So that's fun. So maybe I have a higher rekindling ratio than say start off ratio. Um, but if I have to answer that in a different way, because I have worked with about 16, 17 kids in the last 3+ years, and maybe 200 plus individuals with some of my workshops. Some of their in the workshop writing have been inspired by my nudge to say, you also can write. So I am only again the catalyst, the medium that pushes people into writing. So I'd still very, very consciously answer that that's they've been rekindled, and they already were having that story, and I didn't have to do much about it. They've written. So I can say I've nudged people, I've inspired people to continue reading poetry in a different sense. Yes, but it's not that become because I have started to write, somebody else has also started to write. I don't think it's happened. May have happened. I don't know if they've told it to me and if I remember. So, in so many years, and so many people have come and gone in life. So, I may or may not remember. Somebody has been so inspired saying, I'll now become a writer. And it's never meant to be like that. I am doing it because I have been called to do it. So, if they get inspired, that's their journey.
Are there any workshops that you conduct around making people um, a better poet or maybe helping people to enter into the world of poetry?
Yes.
Do you conduct it often?
I do it conducting it often is happening in the summer holidays time in the Indian time zone, right? So somewhere from April to around June, July. So that's the timeline I do it. Most of my last 3 years of revenue in those 3 months have been through creative writing itself. So maybe around 200 plus people in like various capacities in terms of big workshops, small workshops, individual workshops. Again, so they get to work with what I call as the Word Palace, inspired by Sherlock Holmes. So that's how it starts. And then they go into working with observations from the window, then making it in terms of building characters, building frames, building stories, updating the stories, one story with multiple endings. So the bandwidth starts from basic, advanced, and then mentoring. So I can do it with anybody and everybody. So right from somebody who is 8 to 10 years old to somebody who is 50, 60 years old, the bandwidth has happened. So people from all across that bandwidth, Indian and otherwise, male, female, all that. I think the other genders, they've not revealed it to me what the gender is, but generally, yes. Irrespective of who you are, if you're a human, if you carry human energy, you can write. So I do conduct workshops around that in terms of the first and foray into this and continued exposure, continued expertise, mentoring. So that's been something I wanted to start in August, but I haven't, started the mentoring program full-fledged for young kids. That'll be something that will start maybe by next year. So the many things in the vertical of writing, that's one more.
For a normal person, human being, how do you think poetry will help them to enhance their life, enhance their maybe career?
Good. I don't know. Right now, everything is either about career or leadership. There's nothing to life except these two is the thing that, every other place, is it going to help my career? Is it going to make me a better leader? Right. So, poetry is going to get you in touch with who you are as a human being. If you think that's worth anything, yes, then poetry has its output. I'll tell you why. I've written poems about a spider on the wall. I've written poems about a dustbin in an IIT campus. I've written about, an ode to my bum, right? I've written about farts and flatulences. I've written about old buses who are on the verge of retirement. I write about lions that have lost their pride, as in they're no longer in the prime of their life. I write about depression, I write about sadness, I write about weakness, I write about strength, I write about wells, I write about terraces, I write about bees, I write about rugs, I write about new rugs, I write about combs, I write about having a bald head and not having to use shampoo at all for the rest of my life. So it helps you appreciate life at its most beautifulest, at its most softest. I'll ask you and all readers, so listeners here. So all of you have gone to the metro, okay, to some extent or the other in some part of India, some part of Bangalore. How many times have you observed the guy who's waving his magic wand at you and saying hi, scanning for it? Have you observed what their name is? Have you observed their eyes? So because they're just doing automatic, you just stand there like you're some statue, and then you go. So have you ever sat down and observed? And I sat down and basically while doing that, one of those times I gave eye contact, and that hit me hard because I am going on that road for the last 6 to 7 months, almost twice or thrice a week. It's the same person. I know that by observation, but I haven't even bothered to smile at that fellow. See, these are small human things that you end up becoming better at. So whenever now I go, if I find the same fellow that I'm looking at, I said coffee aita. I give them a smile and they smile back. And I don't know what the output of it is of that smile. But it could mean the difference between them having a lackluster day and having a good day. So my poem was around people who are invisible people. So the poem that came was about invisible people. How many of you even say thank you to people who ride the metro, as in like the driver who rides the metro from here to there, and somebody who cleans it, somebody who keeps the air conditioning on, somebody who sprays freshener after every this thing. How many of us even acknowledge the 4 or 5 people who was making people stand in line? The ones who clean the washrooms, the one who wipe this floor, one who give us the ticket or recharge. We don't even acknowledge those people when our waste workers. Uh, that's not the right word to put it. So some our Paura Karmikas, people who keep Bangalore clean while we make it dirty. So how many of us how many of us even know the name of the person who collects wet waste and dry waste from our house? So these are invisible people. So if poetry allows you to pause, look at different people, look at different perspectives, look at different aspects of life, you start to enjoy life. So I don't know if it helps your career, it helps your life, it helps your leadership journey. This helps you become better at being human. And I think that's been the greatest gift that poetry has given to me. Poetry itself is a gift. Then I make some change happen through that aspect. I act as a medium for something else. And to a large extent, deeper and deeper you go, the I part gets removed. You become part of something bigger. So that is way more than any money that you get out of coaching, any leadership lessons you get out of poetry, any leadership, any life or career transitions that you get out of this. And to answer you in a space, poetry can also be made as a career. Now open mics are happening. There are, if you spend enough time, you can write your own book, publish your own book, go to poetry reading sessions, teach other kids writing, mentor other kids, mentor other people, use it as a stress buster, get into events because of that, start writing a song, compose songs, get into films, get into short films, content writing, LinkedIn writing, storytelling, story writing. The career bit is now an expanse, it's an ocean in itself. So, uh, poetry can give you career opportunities, but it is an after effect of actually having Goddess Saraswati bless you, say Tatastu, and say, now you're blessed. There are some people who saying, Sunil, we use ChatGPT to write a poem. I'm like, fantastic. It's like you eating from a, hotel. You eat, you're hungry, or finished. You give it a 5-star rating. Fantastic thing. But there's something you are cooking for your wife as soon as you and your wife discover that both of you are pregnant. That shit is another level. Cooking for somebody else, you standing in the kitchen and doing it, that entire emotion, love that you put into it, cannot be replaced. So when I write a poem, when ChatGPT writes the same poem for the same prompt, ChatGPT may sound more wise, but for me doing it, this matters. So this is my poem. And so I still say I'm the medium, but for me, when it comes out of me, it is mine. Can you tell that to the ChatGPT thing that it is yours? You can tell it, and people now will know. Okay, yeah, तेरे से ये नहीं होगा. So that's how I'd say. I've answered multiple other things in the same question you asked. But yeah,
So just one last question to you. We have almost took about 1 hour to explore this world of poetry. So, what who would you say as your role model when it comes to the world of poetry? A poet, and why?
I don't think I have a role model.
Mhm.
And the fundamental question to that is the old, young kid, like I said, like, kids, okay, good, writes well, fantastic. Shakespeare, oh, fantastic, writes absolutely well. Friends, Romance, and Countrymen. Arkanarayan, oh, fantastic, absolutely, I love Arkanarayan. There's one Kannada writer called Guru Ramaswamy Iyengar. The depth at which he writes, man, that's crazy. Yeah. And then we were exposed to slightly little bit of Kuempu, Ranna, then slightly in terms of, Purnachandra Tejasvi. Hindi, again, some aspects of Tagore ji, and then most of the other influences have been around English. Mm. I can't say I have a role model. Because if I have a role model, I'm inspired by them. I start writing like them, sitting like them, eating everything. Arkanarayan is the closest that somewhere comes to a role model. But that's in terms of short stories. Poetry, I think I've been, inspired by the world. If I had to say, if I had a role model, world is my canvas. Keats, imagery, I loved imagery. Shakespeare, I love the aspect of this. So different people, different things. I can't say, I have a cult following and said everything that this person writes, I am going to follow. I've never been a cultish kind of a guy. I've never been a follower of this thing and only that thing. So I am like a South Indian thali. So you can't eat kosambri and upinkai and leave the rest of the thing and say that is only this. This is the only thing in life that I am looking at. Everything there is in this place for every aspect of writing, every aspect of an individual. So I'd say yes. So All the poets have read and all the poets have not read. All the poets who have before me, after me, with me. I think all of them are role models in their own way. And for me, I don't think that's a question I even thought of saying who's the role model for me in writing. Having no role model has been a lot more easier because I can write whatever I want. Free verse. I'm like, I don't do rhyming. Will it still work as a poem? Yes. I don't do syllable counts. Will it still write as a poem? Yes. Can I write limericks? Can I write haikus? Can I write sonnets? Can I write Shakespearean sonnets? Can I write alliteration, tautograms? Yes. That's a skill set. But do I do that on my daily basis every day, day in and day out? No, I don't want to do. I can still call myself a poet. And then if somebody else says, Sunil, you're not a poet, poets have to do only this, I'm like, oh, fantastic, I'll keep writing. I'm not writing for your titles to say I'm a poet, I'm a storyteller, I'm XYZ. I will write because I love to write. Whatever names you put is your headache. You tell me you're not a poet, why am I bothered? I will write because I have to write. So I need to, I want to, I've been blessed, I am a medium. So everywhere it becomes like that. I don't know, I'm going a little off tangent in terms of role model stuff, but no role models. No singular role model, if that's the right answer.
So we had a wonderful 1 hour conversation, and I think everyone listening will be inspired to do more about poetry, and maybe there might be more people who comes into the world of poetry after hearing this podcast. Thank you so much, Sunil, for this wonderful 1 hour.
Thanks, Govind, and thank you for being a sport in terms of saying I am the one who usually podcast people, and I when I asked you saying, "Are you open for something like this?" You said yes. Sometimes I can't ask the same questions myself and answer in the same this thing. It becomes very manufactured. So having somebody ask the questions, listen to me, and I think that's been fun. And my hope from this podcast is somebody takes a chance on something that they've always meaning to do, or takes a chance on something that they've never tried before. So my latest thing in taking a chance is actually doing sketching and writing, as in like sketching aspect. So it's something that I find joy now, and it keeps me occupied. So find something that works, and maybe writing is for you. Writing may not be for you, but if you find something that's of interest to you that gives you joy, something that you will do even if somebody never paid you a cent for it, or a rupee for it, or a paise for it, uh, then you found something that is gold and bigger than gold. So you don't have to write because somebody pays you for it. You write because you feel good about it. You love writing. That's the thing. I hope that's a good point to end the podcast because we are at 107, which means
Yeah.
108 is the number we'll end at.
Okay. So everyone listening, thank you for listening.